think it's a quid pro quo. I think they're putting pressure everywhere. The US, they have put recently, the last few years on Xinjiang, on the human rights.
Yes.
Saying that 1 million of Uyghurs were in captivity in their own country. They are putting on Tibet now. And I think because there's a huge confrontation, who will be the leader of the world in 5 or 10 years? So China is trying to assert itself. China is threatening more and more Taiwan. China has whatever they had promised for the Hong Kong. With the one country, two system, they have not kept that promise. So slowly, China is trying to assert in the region. So Tibet is certainly a card. The name card is not very nice. But it's something, one of the factors with which the US can put pressure. And now they have passed this new law. It will be signed very soon by President Biden. So that will be more pressure. Now, how far it can be implemented is another issue. But I think probably the United States just want to put pressure, even if it's not implemented immediately.
Right.
But as you mentioned, the delegation of the Congress, the bipartisan delegation came with Miss Nancy Pelosi. And whenever Miss Nancy Pelosi travels somewhere, there's always patakas, and there was in Dharamsala. She made very strong statement against President Xi Jinping. So I think it's part of the game, and let's see where it leads. But certainly for the Tibetan people, it gives them hope that they have not been completely forgotten. As you mentioned, Sikyong Lobsang Sangye attended the swearing ceremony in 2014, but we should not forget that in 2018, the government circulated a note saying that no government official should meet the Dalai Lama or the Sikyong in Dharamsala. And that was really to please China. And this was after the Doklam incident. And later on, the COVID came, and everyone knew that it was coming from China. So people start viewing China very differently, though in 2019, no Tibetan officials were invited for the swearing ceremony. Of course, after May 2020, and when out of the blue, I could say, China attacked India in 5 places in eastern Ladakh, in Delsang, Demchok, Galwan, Gogra Hot Spring, and then the Figure area on the lake. Everything changed, and the view in Delhi started being a little bit different. I would not say that the policy has completely changed, because there's always a tendency not to want to rock the boat. Rocking the boat, it was an expression used by the Western diplomat in 1950 when Tibet was invaded. Everyone knew that Tibet was an independent country. It's what the recent US Act reiterates. The British themselves in 1949, in December 49, they passed a resolution in their house stating the same thing, that Tibet is a de facto independent nation, but at the same time, nobody wanted rock the boat, as the American diplomat put it. So now slowly, India and the Americans have started. Nancy Pelosi have rocked the boat in Dharamsala. More importantly, I think, or as importantly, Prime Minister Modi received the delegation, and Mr. Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, was in attendance, which is quite a sign that something is changing. Now, how far it will change, it's very difficult to guess, because the situation in the parliament is different than it was in the previous parliament. But let's see, because ultimately it is in India's interest at least to gently rock the boat. I would not say to declare Tibet an independent nation or to follow the way they have passed that new act, but at least to gently rock the boat and to make sure that the immigration of Tibetan people from India to America stops. It's a huge problem. It's a big problem that India has to face, and India needs the goodwill of the Tibetan. India needs the Tibetan to stay in India. If all the Tibetan leaves for America or the West, it's nothing. India will not gain anything in it. That. It's up to the Dalai Lama to decide. It's certainly not about China would like to decide. China says that they have always decided, but it's not correct. Dalai Lama has to decide. The present Dalai Lama has to decide. He said in 2011, he gave a long statement, and he said that I will tell officially when I am 90. Now, next month he'll be 89, so we can hope that he will say something about it. Now there is two possibilities. One is the traditional reincarnation, and the other one is an emanation. An emanation means to select a boy who will be groomed and initiated by the Dalai Lama, but will be already born during the lifetime of the Dalai Lama. The issue of the reincarnation, I've always mentioned it, and I've written a lot about it, that there's a gap of 20 years minimum between the time the boy is reincarnated and the time the boy is able to rule. And it has the weakness of the Tibetan system in the 19th century, when China gained a lot of influence in Tibet. In my opinion, it was due to the fact that no Dalai Lama, the 5 consecutive Dalai Lama, passed away before the age of 20. So there was no Dalai Lama who could rule the Tibetan nation. And that has brought a lot of weaknesses in the system of governance, and which has resulted partially in what has happened later, the invasion of Tibet. So this the Dalai Lama has to decide, and it's certainly not the Beijing. Delhi cannot decide, but Delhi has a lot of concerns vis-à-vis the population, the Buddhist population in the north. You have seen today the reception the Dalai Lama gets when he arrived in New York. But also when he left Dharamsala, there was a farewell, very large, the entire population of Dharamsala was there. But the same worshipping of His Holiness is there in the Himalayan region, and it concerns India. The claim over Tawang and that entire what is today Arunachal Pradesh is very old. I mean, it dates from 1938, 39, when the nationalist government created a new province called Shikang, and in the maps that they produced, they englobed Nifa at that time. And the British, of course, protested, but they kept it on this map. And when Mao Zedong in 1950 invaded Tibet, he discovered that there's old map from the nationalist government, and he asked this map should be distributed, and from then onwards, it will be our claim. But recently, they have put more pressure. But of course, they can't do much about it except to claim. But India also could claim some places, for example, small town called Minsar in western Tibet, which very clearly is historically has been part of GNK since 17th century. So if they want to play that game, and also it has been mentioned that some renaming of some places in Tibet will be done by government of India. We have not seen the name as yet, but if they play that game, India also could play that game. We decided that we want to go ahead and not to be bullied each time. I think it's not a possibility, it's a certitude. There'll be a Chinese Panchen Lama. They put everything in place with the their selected Panchen Lama, Gyatsen Nobu. They will say he is the one who has to decide. They have a sacred lake in Tibet called Lamoy Latso, where usually the regent of the Panchen Lama has a vision and they see where the Dalai Lama is reborn. The Chinese Panchen Lama will go to that lake. He has already visited. I found some photos of him visiting that lake, and they will say he has decided that, I mean, he has seen, he has a vision that the Dalai Lama is born in Tibet, and this will for sure happen. So the question is not no Dalai Lama, there will be for certain Chinese Dalai Lama. Right. So as the Tibetan people, India, the world needs one true Dalai Lama, which will be born in a free country. It's something that the Dalai Lama has always said. He has joked about a girl becoming Dalai Lama or this, or no Dalai Lama, but he has always said he will be reborn in a free country.